Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be talking about NXT from October 17th, 2023. Not my favorite episode of NXT. I can tell you that much. Especially these girls' matches. Oh my god. But it's an episode of NXT, so it was not too bad, but it was a lot of women's matches and they were not very good. Alright, news and notes. First, the Grizzled Young Veterans, or the Dyad. They left WWE, and then they put out a video basically taking shots at WWE. So we're going to go through this because this might be for some of you, it might be the first time you've ever heard them cut a promo. For others, this might be the last time you hear them cut a promo because I don't expect we'll see much out of these guys. But they're full of piss and vinegar. Let's see what they got.
We're doing a multicam promo shoot. I know you're familiar with those. We're just going to wait for this rain to lighten up a little
We don't need to wait for the rain, okay? We're doing this now. No multicam, just one camera. No spooky lights, no special effects. I won't even need a contact lens, okay? No overproduction. We're done.
No overproduction. I mean, like, come on. Where does that get you?
Nowhere. We're filming it now.
No, seriously, where does that get you?
Nowhere.
You've got soulless wrestlers with heartless gimmicks. And then you've got the death of creativity. We took a long look around and we said to ourselves...
Wait a minute. There are two guys wearing suits. Two European guys, very boring looking guys too, wearing suits. Very creative, I must say. I don't really go defend WWE's creative. Most of it is not very good. The Dyad absolutely sucked, but then again, so do these guys. But I cut him off. I cut James Drake off. I forgot he had a voice. He almost never talks.
Ourselves, if this is the big life, then we're not looking to live it. We are sick of taking the safe option. We are sick of reading the same old boring scripts that go absolutely nowhere. And we are sick with dealing with knobheads that have wormed their way into this business.
A very famous British wrestler told us when we arrived in the States that it was time for us to put our head down and start listening to orders if we wanted to succeed. He said that he wanted us to have all the fun out of our system because there's no pirates here. Well, I am sorry for anyone that had different expectations for us. I am sorry that we can't be who you wanted us to be. Simply put, we are not politicians. It's a pirate's life for us. I am Liverpool's #1, Zach Gibson. This man is James Drake. Together we are grizzled young veterans that felt good to say again. We have conquered all of Europe and we're never gonna stop. The boys are back. Yes. And if you see the GYV coming, grit your teeth. Yes. We made your job a little easy for you, lad. Nice and easy on the editing. One take. Oh, that felt good. Let's go.
Hey, that actually was not bad. That was actually pretty good. It's a pretty good promo. I mean, typical WWE stuff. Guys who felt like they were better off doing their own thing. I don't have no problem with that. My issue is it's a little challenge for the dorks out there. Name one Grizzled Young Veteran match or promo before WWE signed them. Nobody knows who these guys are. I mean, they're not wrong in terms of, the Dyad sucking and the schism being a thing that wasn't really going anywhere because they wasn't getting pushed. But I don't know, when the first thing you do upon leaving WWE is attack people. I don't know who they mean by knobheads or whatever, and I don't know. And I don't care. I don't care to speculate. But when I'm looking at these two guys and I say, look, these guys were super boring and they couldn't get over in the United States. That's why they ended up wearing contact lenses and in spooky lighting. If they were any good, they wouldn't have needed that stuff. But the fact is, they probably should have got fired 2 or 3 years before they actually left. But I'm glad they're gone. I'm always glad to see people better off, or at least feeling better about their position, even if that means on the outside of WWE, especially if it means that they're on the outside of WWE. I'm interested in seeing what they do. I won't see what they do unless they pop up on American television again, but the likelihood of that is minimal, unless they're going to be job guys. But I don't know. I just felt like that might be necessary to bring to you, and that's something that you, as the audience, might enjoy. So the Grizzled Young Veterans, that was their that out interview, I guess. Yeah. It wasn't too bad though. At least it had some passion and some fire, and I like the idea of if you see the GYV come and grit your teeth. I like that. Unfortunately, I'll probably never see these guys again in my life. Let's move on. The bada bing, bada boom, battle royal. What a waste of time this was. I'm not going to go through this. We're not going to do it. What we're going to do, however, is mention that the Creeds and Chase U as the finals was teased, as I think it was Humberto Carrillo was thrown over the top rope, but due to chaos outside the ring, the referees didn't see it. So the Guards got back in the ring and threw the Creeds out. This left a tag team match between the Garzas and Chase U. That ended with the Creeds coming back and distracting the referee and causes the Garzas to lose. So Chase University are the number one contenders for the NXT tag team titles. Oh boy. The Tony D'Angelo family were eating spaghetti, some of the driest looking pasta. I mean, my goodness. It looked like that spaghetti was left out overnight with like splashes of ketchup and, something approximating a meatball on a plate. It was all very, very bad. It looked like wax food. Thea Hale and JC Jane were actually cheerleaders here. And I was surprised to see that, but I expect Thea Hale to screw over Chase University and screw over Andre Chase, similar to how she was screwed over in her women's championship match. I'm just kind of surprised that her and JC Jane were cheerleaders in this situation and continue with this. Blair Davenport says that Gigi Dolan escaped their last match due to an incompetent referee and wanted to destroy or derail Gigi Dolan's career and wants a rematch at Halloween Havoc. This led to Gigi Dolan talking about how Halloween is her favorite pastime or her favorite holiday or whatever, favorite time of the year. And she accepted the match, but then they did the old spin the wheel, make the deal, and it becomes a lights out match. I don't remember what the rules of a lights out match is. I'm just thinking of some flavor of no disqualification, which, I mean, it's fine. That's fine. We got a Lexis King promo who says that his people walked up to him, wrestlers from the past walked up to him, talking about how much they loved his dad, how they had such a good time with him. And he would lie through his teeth and say, yeah, he loved him too. But then he says that when you're 4 years old, you don't know anything about love. And that his dad spent more time in hotels than he ever did in his home. Then he says that he's in no one's shadow, and that Halloween Havoc will be the beginning of his career, not a continuance of his father's career. And he's going to make his name bigger than his father's ever was. Now, this has been tremendous. This has been very good. And I've really enjoyed this. I was going to do a video about this. I chose not to because I felt like I was doing too much. But David Bixenspan, the wrestling journalist, he has been absolutely... He picks the weirdest heels to die on. And this new heel he's dying on is... He's very upset that Brian Pillman Jr. is named himself after his stepfather, who Brian Pillman has admitted was abusive. In Dark Side of the Ring and in other interviews, Brian Pillman Jr. mentioned that his stepfather used to sick dogs on him or train the dogs to keep him locked in his room or something to that effect. It was really a quite terrifying situation. And he says, like, why is he doing tributes to the man who abused him? And not mentioning the abuse or anything like that, which we haven't gotten that far into the character yet. Right now, we're dealing with, Pillman's bitterness upon not knowing who his father is and, various wrestlers. And this is all stuff that was from the Brian Pillman DVD, from what I saw, that they was watching on the screen. I think all of those quotes were from the Brian Pillman DVD that they put out, the WWE put out several years ago, which I have a physical copy of, by the way. It's got to be worth something by now, right? Anyway, and Bixenspan is like, why is he naming himself after this guy? So even after he was told that Brian Pillman Jr. was using the name Alex King when he first started wrestling, he still continued down this rabbit hole about how his stepfather was abusive and why would you do a tribute to a man who abused you. And then he was told an even deeper truth, which is even more relevant to today, that Brian Pillman Jr. has two sisters. One was named Alexis, another is named Skylar King. The name Lexis King comes from his little sister, who he says it was questionable whether she was Brian Pillman's daughter or not. Again, this is a very tangled web, but apparently Melanie Pillman had pretty much moved on before Brian had died, and she had gotten pregnant, and it was not proven, that the new guy she was with or whether Brian was the father of this child. This child would be Skylar King. So he's using the name King because it is the name of his stepfather, but it's also in honor of his little sister. Now, the name Lexis came from his older sister, who wrestled under the name Lexi Pillman, and she passed away, and she was I think she was in a car accident, and she used to be a wrestler too. So if you put the two together, he named himself after two of his sisters. He has many sisters, but he named himself after two of his sisters, Lexis King. And I said to myself, well, that makes perfect sense. It makes sense to me, normal person who sits back and thinks about things. But then I said, well, let's go a little bit deeper. Because currently I'm reading Jonathan Snowden's book on Ken Shamrock. And of course, most of you don't know this, but Ken Shamrock, his real name is not Ken Shamrock. It's actually Ken Kilpatrick. And he was born Ken Kilpatrick, but he was adopted by a man by the name of Bob Shamrock. Bob Shamrock used to own a boys' ranch. And it turns out that Bob Shamrock was abusive. He used to beat up the boys, and he used to have sex with them. So the belief is that Bob Shamrock was some kind of a closeted homosexual and was using his boys' ranch as an opportunity to sort of groom young boys. And this was an accusation that's permeated throughout the book. But it's not anything that is, I guess you could say, held over the head of Bob Shamrock. It's just an allegation. But the physical abuse is a real thing. That, Bob Shamrock would often punch the boys in the face, beat them or whatever. But he provided them with structure, home. He loved them. He took them to church. He did all this kind of stuff. He provided them with a lifestyle that they could not be provided by their parents. And the only other option was for them to be raised by the state. So they came to love Bob Shamrock for all the things that he offered them, and they took the negative that came with it. So I say all that to say this. People's lives are very complicated. All right. Sometimes people do love folks that abuse them because the person who abused them, they provided the abuse, but they probably provided something else too. So while Brian Pillman is not utilizing this name in honor of his stepfather, but actually for his sister, if it was his stepfather that he was honoring, well, that's the man who raised him. That's the only father figure he's ever known. It would make sense for him to do so. Especially if his gimmick is going to be that he has a deep-seated bitterness about being the son of Brian Pillman and not really knowing him and constantly having people approach you and say, oh, I love your dad. I thought he was great. And he was one of my best friends and all this stuff. If that's going to be his gimmick, that he's bitter about, his father, then turning away from the name makes perfect sense. Now, the next level, even a deeper depth beyond that, is people saying, like, why is he trying to be like his father? He doesn't want to be like his father, rather. But yet he looks just like him. And he kind of has his hair done just like him. To which I say, he can't help how he looks. Unless he wears a mask, there's not much he can do about how he looks. But there's also, it leaves the door open for him to come to grips with it later. And for him to sort of accept it. It's a very, again, families are very complicated. They're very nuanced. People often love folks who abuse them or appreciate them for one reason or another. it's not as cut and dry as some people would have you believe. And also, and I'll say this before we move on to a different subject, Brian Pillman eventually forgave his mom, who he hated, by the way. He talked about, in various interviews, how much he didn't like his mom, how much he thought his mom was being fake on Monday Night Raw, so it didn't bother him at all that she was on there. All this kind of stuff. But before she died, they had made up. So we don't know what his relationship is with, this guy now, this King fellow. I think his name is Mike King or something like that. We don't know what his relationship is with Mike King today. Maybe they got over it. Maybe they sat down, talked it out, and now he has forgiven Mike or whatever. I'm guessing his name is Mike. We don't know. These things are very complicated, but I think that it's pretty simple. He named himself after his sister. He's got, I think, 3 or 4 sisters. One of them passed away again, Alexis Pillman, who wrestled under the name Lexi Pillman. That's where he get the name Lex from. And he's got a little sister named Skylar King. That's where he got the King part from. The stepfather, we don't know what the relationship is there. So the character is named after the man who really raised him, who is the King guy. But we don't know how he feels about this man. We're not saying that he's talking about this in terms of this being some great guy or that he was, the best dad in the world. It's just the father that he knew. That's it. And sometimes that's enough, because if it wasn't for King, he might have been raised by the state, or he might have been left in a home with no dad, with his drugged out mom. Who knows? And people sometimes turn out worse, when you raised by the state or raised by a single drugged out parent. So I really wish people would be a little bit more nuanced and think about things before they really kind of fly off the handle about them. Just, give it a moment to think about it. Some of this stuff you probably had to Google to know, because, but the dorks, they told me, and I looked it up and double checked it, and a lot of it is factual information. He was using the name Alexis King anyway. I keep saying Alexis. He was using the name Alex King anyway. And basically he came to WWE. They gave him an opportunity to create his own gimmick with his own name, create his own legacy. And I don't see a problem with that at all. But they acknowledged who his father is. So clearly they got something up their sleeve in terms of him actually coming to grips with his father's legacy. All right, we start the storyline for the night with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, Dijak, and Baron Corbin are all in the ring. Corbin calls Carmelo Hayes a fanboy. He said he's been fanboying all week, which is hilarious because it's true. Dijak was grumbling about something. Who cares? Ilya Dragunov popped up on the screen. Says that Cody Rhodes made tonight's triple threat match a fatal 4-way, and the 4th guy in the fatal 4-way is tRiCk Williams. And everybody's like, ooh, tRiCk Williams. That's good. That's good stuff, right? So tRiCk Williams is in the ring. He cracks some jokes on Dijak, cracks some jokes on Corbin, and Carmelo Hayes is looking right in his face. And Corbin is poking the bear. He's saying that, this guy, he did all this behind your back, Melo. Look, he didn't tell you about this. You're as surprised as everybody else is. And Carmelo Hayes says, look, I know who I am. I know who he is. And I will put anyone down to get back on top. So they fight. It was a brawl. But Carmelo Hayes and tRiCk Williams don't hit each other. Instead, they do the old Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior thing. But I thought that's where they were going with it. Instead, they did the modern Adam Cole MJF thing, where tRiCk Williams is jaw-jacking with one of the guys, while Carmelo Hayes is behind him, perched like he's going to punch him or hit him or something. And he instead chooses not to do that. But they teased it. They teased that something was going to happen. Backstage, Carmelo Hayes felt blindsided. He told tRiCk this. Says, I thought we agreed that you would go after the North American title. I'll go after the NXT title. And tRiCk Williams said, I never agreed to that. That was your idea. Then he says that, John Cena gave you advice. He gave me advice too. And he felt like the time for him was now. He felt like he is where Carmelo Hayes was last year. Carmelo Hayes, but then he apologized to Carmelo Hayes, says he was nervous to tell him he didn't know how he was going to react. Carmelo Hayes says, well, look, man, I'm your biggest fan, but we got to do what we got to do. You know, no matter what, it's going to be tRiCk Mello gang, right? Right. Later on, Trick Williams is laid out backstage, and he is then removed from the triple threat match due to being taken to the hospital. We don't get Carmelo Hayes' response to this at all, which might have actually helped, but we didn't get Carmelo Hayes' response. Instead, we got a bunch of other stuff. And then we got the main event. Main event of the evening, Dijak, Baron Corbin, Carmelo Hayes. Has they ever created a match, changed a match, and then changed the match back in one night? Has that ever happened before? Have they ever bait and switched, and then bait and switch to bait and switch? Has that ever happened before? Oh yeah, we're going to put Trick Williams in this match. Yoink! Psych your mind. We will not be doing that. It was a triple threat match. Look, I don't care about triple threat matches, man. I don't like Dijak. I don't like Corbin. But Carmelo Hayes winning, I was like, for starters, he's wrestled Ilya twice already. I believe, was the Great American Bash on TV, or was that a pay-per-view event? I'm not sure which one it was, but ultimately, they've had this match twice already. Now they're going to do it again at Halloween Havoc. I'm a little perplexed by that. But it's infinitely better than Baron Corbin and Dijak, I can tell you that, and I don't have a problem saying that out loud. So Carmelo Hayes will be wrestling Ilya Dragunov one more time in 2 weeks in the main event of Halloween Havoc Week 2. I'm okay with this. Now, it seems to be pretty obvious that they're trying to tease that Carmelo Hayes was the one who attacked Trick Williams. Now, a lot of people are getting the idea of the old Shawn Michaels Triple H heel turn from 2002, where there's going to be like secret camera footage of Mello blasting Trick in the head with like a tire iron or something like that. Which it would have been nice if Trick Williams would have been unconscious instead of, holding his head selling. Sometimes that's infinitely better because people are going to be like, oh shit, what's going on? Is he breathing? What's happening here? But he was laying on the ground like, That's a little different, But I think that's a little obvious, but it would make sense that, Trick Williams, or maybe it's Trick Williams is going to accuse Carmelo Hayes of attacking him and it not be true. There's a couple of ways they can do this to make this interesting, because they did a lot of super babyface stuff with Carmelo Hayes last week, hanging out with The Undertaker, hanging out with John Cena. It seems like a waste to throw that away by just turning him heel in about a week or two later. The same can be said for Trick Williams, though, because Trick Williams got the big rub from John Cena, too. Why have John Cena give either one of these guys the rub if they're just going to turn them heel? But one of them has to turn heel. I mean, it's just inevitable, right? So it ought to be fun at the very least. So I look forward to it. And the Dragunov, Carmelo Hayes matches are usually pretty good. So am I looking forward to that? Way more than I was looking forward to Dijak or Baron Corbin. So looking at what the options were, I think we came out well. All right, so Fallon Henley is backstage. For some reason, she's giving advice to all the Breakout tournament girls. When Tiffany Stratton shows up and says that she was in the finals of the Breakout tournament, why is anybody listening to Fallon Henley? Fallon Henley says that Tiffany Stratton represents everything that these Breakout girls should not try to be, to which Tiffany Stratton reminded everybody that she's rich and a former champion, while Fallon Henley hangs out in the barn, and that she's quote-unquote giving poor. I hate that it's giving shit. I hate it so much. It's hood rat speak. But Fallon Henley's been on this roster for at least 2 or 3 years, and she's a tag team champion, I guess. But that was very short-lived. But she ain't been around long enough to be like a mentor. Like she's still basically a rookie herself. But it just goes to show how fast things are moving in NXT, where people who look like they just got there, like Fallon Henley, are now all of a sudden the veterans in the locker room or whatever. Like, that's crazy. But the Breakout tournament provided, I gotta tell you, it didn't provide much this week. It provided a lot in one match. It didn't provide much in terms of wrestling. Carmen Petrovich and versus Jaden Parker. Now, y'all know me. I'm very lenient when it comes to NXT and the wrestling. I don't really care that much about the wrestling product of NXT. It's NXT. Everybody that you see on this show, for the most part, unless they have a lot of experience, is some kind of rookie or trainee. I think this might have been Carmen Petrovich's first match. It might have been Jada Parker's first match. If they've had matches before this, I doubt they've had 10. So this match not being very good is not much of a surprise to me. All right. I doubt they probably haven't had 15 matches between the two of them. So the point of the Breakout tournament is to take rookies and put the spotlight on them and give them an opportunity. So this was just not very good, however. At least I didn't like it. Carmen Petrovich says, I think she said she's got 23 years of martial arts experience and she's a 3rd-degree black belt. And also she had a sword. Oh, interesting. While Jada Parker says that her athleticism slides and her agility slides, or is so smooth it slides, or something to that effect. She seems to, her promo was not very good, but she seems to have at least some personality. She also got a very nice ass. I mean, it instantly made me a fan. I mean, I felt baptized after that. Like, sprinkle it on me, brother. Sprinkle some more of that Jada Parker on me, brother. You know, she'll get better. I promise. She sucks now, but she'll get better. Just put her in a stable or a tag team or something like that, and she'll get better. I mean, the girl's thick as oatmeal. The girl thick as thermal socks. You feel me? The girl's nice. The girl's well built. She's molded, and I don't mean by moldy. The second match in the Breakout tournament was Ariana Grace versus Brinley Reese. Now, this match was occurring because Jakara Jackson of the Metaphor was taken out of the tournament because she was not medically cleared. They did a backstage joke segment where they was talking about Jakara Jackson's arm being amputated or whatever. It was a joke. It was pretty funny. It was no Amdar. Supposed to be on speakerphone being an idiot. But this Brinley Reese, never seen this person in my life. Have no idea who this person is. This was the best women's match of the night, if we're being honest. Ariana Grace, the daughter of Santino Marella. She's calling herself Miss NXT. She's doing a gimmick where she's doing pageant girl stuff. Like she's a model / beauty queen and all this kind of stuff. And her promo segment, she's talking about how her heart goes out to Jakara Jackson, and she too suffered an injury last year, and she came back better than ever, and she's sure that Jakara Jackson will too, and that she greatly accepts her bye into the semifinals of the tournament, only to find out that she doesn't have an opponent, and that's this Brinley Reese, and this name does not... Brinley. Why would you name yourself Brinley? Where did that name come from? I would hope that you have like a cousin or something like that got electrocuted and their name was Brinley. That's the only way you come up with a name like this. But Brinley Reese cut the most generic babyface promo of all time. I'm here to prove that I should have been in the tournament in the first place. I'm like, okay. Just go out here and do this job match and call it a day. But it ended up not being too bad. Ariana Grace actually works very well as a heel. She plays with the crowd a little bit. She knows how to beg off and, work a gimmick, work a character, which is interesting. Like, she didn't get a lot to do in this match because the Brinley Reese girl doesn't know how to work with her. But I can easily see Ariana Grace being a character that would fit with Chelsea Green. Like, I think that if you was to take Ariana Grace and put her with Chelsea Green, done. Like, those two characters look like they work very well together. They look like they would fit. Brinley Reese did Charlotte's handspring clothesline, and Charlotte is terrible with it. She starts way too far. It's almost like when you do a terrible buckshot lariat and you have to go run halfway across the ring after you've done the flip. It's the same thing here, except for Brinley Reese actually did it better than Charlotte. I can't believe I said that. I'm going to say it again. She did it better than Charlotte because her opponent was actually closer when she did it. But I'm pretty sure she'll probably get told not to do that move again because it's Charlotte's move. Ariana Grace ends up winning the match with a judo throw after she thumbed Brinley Reese in the eye. So Ariana Grace seems to be the most seasoned in the roster in this tournament so far. It helps that her dad is a wrestler. Again, her dad is Santino. And it helps that she's a little bit older than the other girls. I think she's like in her late 20s. So yes, she started wrestling pretty late. So it helps that she's a little bit more mature. She's been around the business a little bit more. So I'm not surprised that, of the remaining girls in the tournament, she's probably like one of the better ones. But generally speaking, Carmen Petrovic, I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't really feeling that. Sorry. Next, Tegan Knox is hanging out with Natalya. She's shitting up everywhere, man. Natalya is she's like a seagull, just shitting on everything. She's shitting all over on my statues, my brand new car, my brand new $50 t-shirt. She's just shitting all over the place, man. She's tearing it up. So that she's going to be in Tegan Knox's corner because Tegan Knox, had her back the previous night. So Tegan Knox wrestled Lyra Valkyria. And let me tell you this. I feel like this match was actually worse than the Carmen Petrovic and Jada Parker match. At least they got the excuse that they're rookies. Tegan Knox has been in the business for a long time, and so has Lyra Valkyria. When you watch these two, and they're both young women. I don't think Tegan Knox is that old, and Lyra Valkyria isn't that old. But they've got a lot of experience. And you can clearly see them telegraphing spots before they happen. So it's such a choreographed, laid out match that you're like, oh my God. And I know it eventually smoothed out as it got better. As the match went on, it smoothed out a little bit as it went on. But I mean, goodness, you could just look at them. It's like watching a kid do, connect the dots. And it goes, That's basically what you're watching them do. I was very offended by this. Only because of their level of experience. I have to grade them differently due to their level of experience. Tegan Knox is somebody I've been told is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. I have yet to see a great Tegan Knox match. Yet. And she's been in WWE for 6 years. I have yet to see a great Tegan Knox match yet. Even her match with Becky was just okay. I think we need to start having a conversation. NXT has exposed a lot of these indie wrestlers, by the way. Gigi Dolan is another one. There's been quite a few. That's why I'm glad we started with the Grizzled Young Veterans. Is that just because you've been around for a while doesn't mean you're very good. People who have a lot of experience, just because you have a lot of experience doesn't mean that it's useful experience. Doesn't mean that it's good. And I think there's a couple of people for whom NXT has exposed them. And Tegan Knox might be one of them. Lyra Valkyria, if she kills it with Becky Lynch, it will not be her problem. It will be a Tegan Knox issue. Because, again, I've never seen a good Tegan Knox match. After the match, Lyra Valkyria says that... I forgot to talk about the storyline. Sorry. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green came out to mock Natalya. And ended up distracting Tegan Knox, what caused her to lose with the roundhouse kick. And it was terrible, by the way. Terrible finish. After the match, Tegan Knox and Natalya brawled with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. I cannot believe Tegan Knox and Natalya are a tag team. Could you pick two more boring specimens to put together in a tag team? Really? Could you be worse at this? Okay? They're awful. Lyra Valkyria gets on the mic, however, and she says that nobody's going to become between her and the title. She says that Becky Lynch saw something in her, and that lights a fire underneath her because she always wanted to compete against Becky Lynch. Then she said she always wanted to be the first Irish NXT Women's Champion. So, and Becky Lynch beat her to it. So she says that she's going to take the title from Becky Lynch. Something to that effect. It was actually probably more of a punchy finish than I expected. And her promo was actually pretty good. Pretty fiery. Becky Lynch then cut a promo and said that she used to get tapes of Lyra Valkyria's progress. And she's always wanted to face her because she's good. She's really good. But now she's got the opportunity to come after this championship. And this is the reason why she leaves her house, why she leaves her daughter. And this is her purpose. And that when you come for Becky Lynch, you better bring the best that you got. And she's going to have to hate Becky Lynch in order to win this match. I thought both promos were very strong. It's probably the strongest Lyra Valkyria promo I've ever heard. She sounds very confident. She sounded like she meant it. She didn't sound like a mark or a fangirl, even though it kind of started that way. It seems like she's ready to break out and do more. I still feel like maybe her gimmick would benefit from her not talking, because in NXT UK she didn't talk very much. And she probably was more over there. And for some reason, her work actually got worse when she came to the United States. I don't know. Maybe it's the different kinds of coaching and trying to change her style. But I liked her better when she was in NXT UK. So at the end of the show, Lyra Valkyria tore to shreds a picture of her and Becky and says, like, this is the end. I'm going to be the NXT Women's Champion. And they're really angling towards a heel turn from what it looks like. It looked like she might actually cheat, cut some kind of corners or whatever, do whatever it takes to win that match, which she should, if we're being honest. I mean, how many more chances is she going to get? But we know that she's probably not going to win that match because Becky Lynch is not done. They're treating the NXT Women's title like a Women's Intercontinental Championship, which people have always asked for. Oh, we need a Women's Intercontinental title. Basically, they turned the NXT Women's title into that, And I don't know how to feel about that, really. I guess it's good because it makes the title worth something and it makes it useful, and Becky Lynch is keeping it relevant. But at the same time, they're just doing bum of the week. One of my subscribers said that, it goes back to the old Joe Louis. It's a boxing thing, He's dealing with the bum of the week. And very few people are legitimate challengers. Most of them are just, bums. If you are the person who utilized bum of the week, please let yourself be known in the comment section and give them a thumbs up for giving me a really good idea, because I had forgotten about that. But it's a fact. That's what they're doing. All right. To continue along the show, this is very long. I don't know why it's so long. Von Wagner, we got an update on Von Wagner. Apparently his brain's broken, and if you put a bandage on it, then it's okay. So he got a bandage on his head. He's learning how to walk again. He's got no pull strength, and he wants to give it up. He wants to give up. He doesn't want to do this anymore. Then Robert Stone says, is there with him, standing by his side. And Von Wagner says, look, you put yourself in danger, messing around with Braun Breaker. And Robert Stone said, yeah, and I would do it again, but I'm going to start it, but I need you to finish it. And that motivated Von Wagner to keep trying, even though he wanted to give up. So later, Braun Breaker is backstage. He's cutting a promo, and he's interrupted by Rob Stone. And Rob Stone challenged Braun Breaker to a match at Halloween Havoc, to which Braun Breaker said he's going to do worse to Rob Stone than he did to Von Wagner. This is probably the most interesting manager wrestler thing I've ever seen. I got outside of, Randy Savage marrying his manager. I've never seen a manager so involved with one of their charges. Outside of a romantic relationship between the two, I've never seen a manager go through and actually become like best friends. Try to motivate their wrestler through this kind of process. I've never seen this before. You know, maybe it happened and I don't remember it, but I've never seen managers go as far as Robert Stone is going with Von Wagner. And these two have been together for so long. It's kind of ridiculous. And Robert Stone, I forgot that he was even a wrestler. Now, this match should not be long at all. And it's probably just bait for Von Wagner to make his big return and try to murder Braun Breaker. But I'm interested, you know. I'm interested in how this is going to go. Because it ought to be humorous at the very least. If nothing else, it's going to be humorous. All right, another women's match, Kiana James and Shotzi. No, Shotzi, baby, come on. She's wearing a tiger coat. Now, a tiger coat, don't hate that. Everything else, though, looks like she was dressed by a 4-year-old. I mean, the smeared blue lipstick, the crazy colored hair. I don't know what was going on with that outfit. Almost none of this stuff was coordinated. It was 100 different colors. I'm like, oof, woof. The match in and of itself, not good, but not terrible either. Roxanne Perez shows up and she takes a brick out of Kiana James' purse because Kiana James was trying to hit Shotzi with her purse and there's a brick in it. This, of course, led to distraction and Shotzi wins the match because Shotzi cannot win a match clean, for Christ's sake. So even on NXT, she can only win matches with distractions. I just can't believe she came out there looking like a toddler dressed her. It's so bizarre. Very, very bizarre. Kiana James actually is not a bad wrestler. So this is probably Shotzi's fault that the match wasn't that great. But at least they're doing something with Shotzi. I don't know why she's tormenting people on NXT instead of, tormenting Bayley, but whatever. She's the host of Halloween Havoc next week, so she's got that going for her. Backstage, Shotzi thinks that Roxanne Perez is ballsy and wants to know what she plans to do about Kiana James. So this leads to Roxanne Perez going over and spinning the wheel to make the deal, and she ends up with a Devil's Playground match. And I don't know what the hell that is either. Again, a different flavor of no disqualification, no doubt. So we got the vanilla and butter pecan versions of no disqualification match on the show. What the hell? Oh my God. It's the chocolate and the chocolate chip version. What the fuck? Oh God. Come on, Sean. You gotta think outside the box, for Christ's sake. I got an idea. No disqualification match. Like, we already got like 4 of those. Come on, brother. Anyway. Dominic Mysterio, he showed up. It was very brief. And he got beat up by Nathan Fraser, the Welsh kid who's the protege of Seth Rollins. This was hilarious to me because he didn't throw a single punch. He just kept getting punched and trying to run away because that's classic Dominic Mysterio. And he actually knows what he's doing. He doesn't care about not looking tough. He knows that he gets more heat the more chicken shit that he is. So while Nathan Fraser is throwing the most feckless punches I've ever seen in my life, Dominic Mysterio is either taking them or trying to run. And he ends up, of course, running into the ring, and Rhea Ripley ended up saving him. So they're leading us to Nathan Fraser and Dominic Mysterio. I don't know when that will be, but that ought to be fun. Nathan Fraser's a solid generic babyface with no real personality or discernible anything. And Dominic Mysterio is Dominic Mysterio. So I think he'll be able to do a great job with this guy. It's amazing how they're utilizing Dominic, because it's clear that he needs to be in NXT, but his talent level is above NXT. And the fact they're utilizing this thing in a very interesting way, because instead of just putting Dominic in NXT and leaving him there, they're having him work NXT and Raw, and then sometimes SmackDown too. So they're trying to get those experience points up very quickly. And it's actually working because he's getting better. He's gotten much better in the ring. He was really bad in the ring a year or 2 ago. He's gotten much better in the ring. His personality is off the charts. He's probably top 3 heels on the roster. Probably number 1 in terms of getting heat and generating heat and knowing how to utilize his character. I mean, it's just tremendous. So him working with a generic babyface like Nathan Fraser does a great job for Nathan Fraser, but this is another bum of the week situation. Without a discernible personality, Nathan Fraser is not going to go very far in NXT or in WWE in general. So it ought to be a fun match because Nathan Fraser can have a hell of a match, and Dominic can too. The issue here is there's no issue here. Nathan Fraser, he can talk, but he doesn't have anything to talk about. And Dominic can just go out there and stand still and generate heat. So, it ought to be very easy. Next, what else we got here? I guess the last thing we got is Jade Cargill appears at the very, very end of the show to tap her watch. And that was very interesting. They're trying to lead people to believe that Jade Cargill might be on this show. And you know what? It would not harm her. And it would make sense. Like, I know she's probably looked at NXT, and a bunch of other people probably have too, and see, oh, it's the minor leagues of WWE. I don't want to do that. But seeing that Becky Lynch is on the show and Dominic Mysterio is on the show, and, seeing some of the stuff that they're doing, maybe they feel more comfortable with her being on NXT. And maybe Becky Lynch and Dominic Mysterio being featured on NXT makes her more comfortable about being on NXT. I mean, it's the stigma of being an NXT wrestler in WWE. I think they're gonna try to rehab that and make it so that guys don't feel so bad about being on NXT. And if you can manage to do that, then I can see Jade Cargill working matches here and there in NXT, much like Dominic Mysterio, where she probably works NXT and Raw or NXT and SmackDown or whatever. And she needs it. She needs that level of experience. She needs to work with people who are beneath her level of talent so that she can showcase that she's a star. But she also, and this is what she never did in AEW, she needs to work with people who are higher on the roster, who can challenge her verbally and challenge her in the ring so she can get better. So she needs both. She needs people to beat up and show that she's, physically imposing and a star. But she also needs people to sell for, who she can put over and who can in turn put her over too. So I think working NXT and Raw or NXT and SmackDown, similar to Dominic Mysterio, will actually be more beneficial for Jade Cargill than anything. She needs a certain level of experience before she starts wrestling like Becky Lynch or Charlotte or whatever. Like, she can get in there and tangle with Bayley a little bit or whatever. But maybe just getting in the ring with some of the more experienced people in NXT, like a Roxanne Perez or somebody like that, might actually help her quite a bit in terms of her getting better, which is what the point of her being in NXT. So the tease was very cool. I know a lot of people are like, she's never going to be on NXT. She probably doesn't want to be on NXT. It's like, well, they're trying to change that image. And if Becky Lynch can be on it, why can't Jade Cargill, for Christ's sake? If Dominic Mysterio, who gets more heat than anybody on planet Earth, can be on it, why can't Jade Cargill? So, I'm not saying that she will be. I'm saying that I don't see a problem with her being on NXT. But I also don't think that she will be. All right. That is the show. The women's show. The women's matches dragged this show down. I do not expect them to hold 900,000 viewers. You can forget it. You can forget it. It's all going to be about what the drop-off is. Is the drop-off going to be major? Yes, it will be. No John Cena, no Cody Rhodes, no Undertaker. The drop-off is about to be huge. And then people are going to talk about it, but everybody knows the drop-off is about to be big. It's not going to surprise anybody. Is it going to go back to 600,000 viewers? No, I would say it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 700. So it's going to be a sharp decline. But I don't think it's going to be 600,000. I think it's probably like 750 or something. But let me know what you guys think, and let me know if I'm right in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.